First contact and cultural clash. The skies above New Washington buzzed with activity as the massive alien ship entered Earth's atmosphere. Commander Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the Global Defense Headquarters, her dark eyes fixed on the approaching vessel. Its sleek, crystalline structure seemed to defy the laws of physics, shimmering with an otherworldly energy that both fascinated and terrified her. Status report. Sarah barked into her comlink, her voice steady despite the anxiety churning in her stomach. All systems nominal, Commander, came the crisp reply from her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jack Harper. The alien vessel has maintained its current position for the last hour. No signs of aggression detected. Sarah nodded, though Jack couldn't see her. Keep all defense systems on standby. We don't know their intentions yet. As she spoke, a holographic display flickered to life before her, showing real-time footage from the welcoming committee assembled on the ground. President Amelia Rodriguez stood at the forefront, flanked by a diverse group of Earth's most brilliant scientists, diplomats, and military personnel. The alien ship's descent was graceful, almost hypnotic. As it touched down, a hush fell over the crowd. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a sound like tinkling crystal, a portal materialized in the ship's side. Sarah leaned forward, her breath catching in her throat as the first alien emerged. It was tall, easily 7 feet in height, with a lithe, almost serpentine body covered in iridescent scales. Its head was elongated, with large, multifaceted eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. But what struck Sarah most was the alien's obvious confidence. It moved with the assurance of a being used to being in charge. President Rodriguez stepped forward, her voice ringing out clear and strong. On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you to our world. We come in peace and hope for mutual understanding and cooperation. The alien's response came not in words, but in a series of musical tones that seemed to resonate in the air. A moment later, a small device on its wrist pulsed, and a synthesized voice emerged. I am Zaxxillian, emissary of the Galactic Confederation. We have come to assess your world's readiness for integration into the greater cosmic community. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine at the alien's words. Integration. What exactly did that mean? As if sensing her unease from afar, Zaxxillian's multifaceted eyes seemed to lock onto the observation deck where Sarah stood. Even from this distance, she felt the weight of its gaze. Your species is intriguing, Zaxxillian continued. We have observed your rapid technological advancement, your resilience in the face of adversity. But we have also seen your conflicts, your divisions. Before we can welcome you into the Galactic Confederation, you must prove yourselves worthy. President Rodriguez maintained her composure, though Sarah could see the tension in her shoulders. We are eager to learn and grow, the president replied. How can we demonstrate our worthiness? Zaxxillian's head tilted, an oddly human gesture. We will require a period of cultural exchange. Members of our delegation will integrate into your society, observing and interacting. In return, we will share some of our knowledge and technology. Sarah's mind raced. This was both an incredible opportunity and a potential threat. How could they ensure the safety of their people while also taking advantage of this chance to advance human knowledge? As if reading her thoughts, Zaxxillian added, Of course, we understand your need for caution. We will submit to any reasonable security measures you deem necessary. Over the next few hours, as diplomats hammered out the details of this unprecedented cultural exchange, Sarah found herself in a whirlwind of activity. Security protocols had to be established, living arrangements made for the alien visitors, and 1,000 other details addressed. It was late in the evening when Sarah finally had a moment to breathe. She stood in her office, gazing out at the alien ship that now dominated the skyline. The enormity of what was happening finally began to sink in. A knock at her door jolted her from her thoughts. Enter, she called out. Jack Harper stepped in, looking as exhausted as she felt. Commander, the first group of alien observers is ready to be escorted to their quarters. I thought you might want to oversee the process personally. Sarah nodded, straightening her uniform. Good thinking, Lieutenant. Let's go. As they walked through the corridors of the headquarters, Sarah couldn't shake a feeling of unease. What do you make of all this, Jack? She asked quietly. Jack ran a hand through his sandy hair, his blue eyes thoughtful. It's the opportunity of a lifetime, Commander. But, he hesitated. But, Sarah prompted, but I can't help feeling like we're missing something. The aliens' intentions seem benevolent, but there's something off about the way they're approaching this. Sarah nodded, relieved that she wasn't the only one feeling this way. I agree. We need to stay alert. This cultural exchange could be exactly what they say it is, or it could be something else entirely. They arrived at the secure wing where the alien visitors would be staying. As the door slid open, Sarah found herself face to face with Zaxxillian. Up close, the alien was even more imposing, its iridescent scales shifting colors in the artificial light. Commander Chen, Zaxxillian's synthesized voice intoned. I am pleased to make your acquaintance. Your security measures are most impressive. Sarah inclined her head slightly. Thank you, Emissary Zaxxillian. We hope you'll be comfortable here. As she spoke, Sarah noticed something strange. Zaxxillian's multifaceted eyes seemed to be focused not on her, but on Jack. There was an intensity to the alien's gaze that made Sarah instinctively want to step between them. And who is this? Zaxxillian asked, its tone suddenly filled with what Sarah could only describe as fascination. Lieutenant Jack Harper, sir. Ah, emissary, Jack replied, standing at attention. Zaxxillian moved closer, its tall form looming over Jack. Fascinating, it murmured. The diversity of your species is remarkable. I look forward to learning more about you, Lieutenant Harper. Sarah felt a surge of protectiveness. Lieutenant Harper is one of our finest officers, she said firmly. He'll be overseeing much of the day-to-day operations of this cultural exchange. Zaxxillian's attention snapped back to Sarah, and she could have sworn she saw a flicker of something in those alien eyes. Amusement? Challenge? Excellent, Zaxxillian said. I'm sure we'll all learn a great deal from each other. As the alien delegation settled into their quarters, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the precipice of something monumental. The future of human-alien relations, perhaps the future of humanity itself, would be shaped by what happened in the coming days and weeks. Little did she know, the true challenge was yet to come, a challenge that would test not just humanity's readiness for the cosmic community, but the very foundations of love, loyalty, and what it means to be human. The aliens' ultimatum and human resilience. The glittering spires of New Washington's alien quarter shimmered in the early morning light, a stark contrast to the utilitarian architecture of the human cities surrounding it. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the window of her office, her reflection ghostly in the reinforced glass. It had been 3 weeks since the Galactic Confederation's arrival, and the city had transformed almost overnight. Commander, you need to see this. Lieutenant Jack Harper's voice crackled over the intercom, tension evident in his usually calm demeanor. Sarah's heart raced as she sprinted to the command center. The scene that greeted her was one of barely contained chaos. Holographic displays showed crowds gathering in major cities worldwide, their faces a mix of awe and fear. What's happening, Lieutenant? Sarah demanded, her eyes scanning the incoming data. Jack's fingers flew over the control panel. The aliens just hijacked every communication channel on the planet. They're about to broadcast something. As if on cue, the central screen flickered to life, revealing Zaxxillian's imposing form. The alien's iridescent scales seemed to pulse with an inner light, its multifaceted eyes gleaming with an emotion Sarah couldn't quite decipher. People of Earth, Zaxxillian's synthesized voice resonated through the command center. The time has come for us to elevate your species to its rightful place in the cosmos. But first, you must prove your worthiness. Sarah's blood ran cold. This was what they had feared, the other shoe dropping. Zaxxillian continued, its voice taking on an almost hypnotic quality. "We have observed your mating rituals, your concept of love. It is inefficient. To truly evolve, you must transcend these primitive bonds." The alien's gaze seemed to pierce through the screen, locking onto Sarah with unnerving intensity. "Commander Sarah Chen, you have been chosen as an example for your people. Relinquish your emotional attachment to Lieutenant Jack Harper. He will join our delegation as a representative of humanity's potential." The command center erupted in shocked murmurs. Sarah felt as if the floor had dropped out from beneath her. She turned to Jack, seeing her own confusion and disbelief mirrored in his eyes. "This is not a request," Zaxlian's voice cut through the chaos. "It is a condition for Earth's acceptance into the Galactic Confederation. You have 24 hours to comply." The screen went dark, plunging the room into stunned silence. Like hell, Sarah growled, her shock quickly giving way to anger. She turned to her team, her voice ringing with authority. "I want every scrap of data we have on the aliens' technology, their biology, everything. We're not rolling over for some cosmic bully with boundary issues." As the command center burst into frenzied activity, Sarah pulled Jack aside. "Are you okay?" she asked softly, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability. Jack's jaw was set, his blue eyes blazing with determination. "I'm not going anywhere, Sarah. We'll figure this out, together." Their moment was interrupted by Dr. Usha Patel, the lead xenobiologist. "Commander Lieutenant, I think I found something," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. "The aliens' communication technology, it's not just translating language, it's broadcasting emotional signals." Sarah's mind raced. "Are you saying they're manipulating our feelings?" Aisha nodded. "Not exactly manipulating, but amplifying. The technology seems to resonate with our brain's limbic system, intensifying emotional responses. That's why everyone's been so accepting of their presence." "And why Zaxxilian seems so fixated on Jack," Sarah mused, the pieces starting to fall into place. Jack's eyes widened in realization. "The day they arrived, Zaxxilian looked at me like I was the most fascinating thing it had ever seen." "But why?" Sarah pressed. "What makes you special?" Dr. Pertello cleared her throat. "I have a theory about that too. Lieutenant Harper, your genetic profile shows some unique markers. Markers that, well, make you exceptionally compatible with the aliens' biology." The implications hung heavy in the air. Jack ran a hand through his hair, his voice barely above a whisper. "They want me for breeding, don't they?" Sarah's protective instincts flared. "Not going to happen," she declared. "We need a plan. Not just to protect Jack, but to show these aliens that humanity won't be pushed around." Over the next several hours, the command center became a hive of activity. Scientists pored over alien data, strategists debated tactics, and through it all, Sarah felt a growing sense of pride in her team's resilience. As the deadline approached, Sarah stood before her assembled staff, her voice clear and unwavering. "Today, we face a threat unlike any humanity has encountered before. The Galactic Confederation thought it could divide us, manipulate our emotions, make us doubt the very things that make us human, but they underestimated us." She paused, her gaze sweeping the room. "Love isn't a weakness, it's not inefficient, it's the source of our greatest strength. Our capacity to care for one another, to fight for each other, that's what's brought us this far, and it's what will carry us to the stars." A cheer went up from the assembled humans. Even the alien observers stationed in the command center seemed moved, their typically impassive faces showing flickers of emotion. Sarah turned to the main view screen, where Zaxxilian's face had appeared once more. "Emissary," she said, her voice level but filled with steel. "Humanity rejects your ultimatum. We will not sacrifice our people or our principles. If Earth's place in the Galactic Confederation comes at the cost of our humanity, then we respectfully decline." Zaxxilian's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with an unreadable emotion. "You would risk cosmic isolation for one emotional bond." "No," Sarah replied, reaching out to take Jack's hand. We risk it for all of them, for every human's right to love, to choose, to be who they are. That's not inefficiency, Zaxxlian. That's what makes us human. For a long moment, silence reigned. Then, to everyone's shock, Zaxxlian began to laugh, a musical, tinkling sound that filled the command center. Remarkable, the alien said, genuine admiration in its synthesized voice. Truly remarkable. It seems we have much to learn from each other after all. As the tension in the room began to dissipate, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This wasn't the end of their challenges, far from it. But humanity had stood its ground, proving that their emotions, their connections, were not weaknesses to be overcome, but strengths to be celebrated. The road ahead would be long and undoubtedly filled with more surprises. But as Sarah looked around at her team, at Jack, standing tall beside her, she knew that whatever the cosmos had in store, humanity would face it together. Cosmic revelations and human ingenuity. The holographic display in the Global Defense Headquarters pulsed with an eerie alien light. Commander Sarah Chen stood before it, her dark eyes reflecting the swirling patterns of what appeared to be a galactic map. Beside her, Lieutenant Jack Harper's brow furrowed in concentration as he manipulated the controls, zooming in on a particular sector. "There," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's where the signal's coming from." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. It had been 2 months since humanity's defiant stand against the Galactic Confederation's ultimatum, and the aftermath had been unexpected. Instead of isolation or retaliation, Earth had been thrust into a crash course in cosmic politics. Zaxxlian, impressed by humanity's resolve, had revealed a startling truth. The Confederation was not the benevolent organization it claimed to be. "Commander," Dr. Aisha Patel's voice cut through the tension. "I finished analyzing the data from the quantum entanglement array. You're not going to believe this." Sarah turned, eyebrow raised. "Try me, Doctor. After everything we've seen, I'm prepared to believe just about anything." Aisha's dark eyes sparkled with excitement. "The signal we intercepted, it's not just a distress call, it's a blueprint for a device that could revolutionize interstellar travel." Jack leaned in, his curiosity piqued. "How so?" It's hard to explain in human terms," Aisha admitted. "But from what I can gather, it's a form of propulsion that doesn't just bend space-time, it rewrites it entirely." Sarah's mind raced with the possibilities. And the Confederation is trying to suppress this technology. Zaxxlian, who had been silently observing from the corner, stepped forward. Its iridescent scales shimmered with an almost apologetic air. "The Confederation fears change," the alien explained, its synthesized voice tinged with regret. "This technology would upset the balance of power they spent millennia establishing." Sarah's jaw clenched. "So they're willing to let an entire civilization suffer to maintain their control." Zaxxlian's multifaceted eyes blinked in what Sarah had come to recognize as discomfort. "It is complicated. The civilization that created this technology, the Nexarians, they are seen as unpredictable, dangerous even." "Dangerous how?" Jack pressed. "They possess an ability that even the Confederation does not fully understand," Zaxxlian replied. "They can manipulate emotions on a cosmic scale. The Confederation fears they would use this new propulsion technology to spread their influence across the galaxy." Sarah exchanged a look with Jack, a silent understanding passing between them. "So that's why you were so interested in human emotions," she mused. "You were trying to understand the Nexarians." Zaxxlian's head tilted in acknowledgement. "Your species shares certain similarities with the Nexarians. Your capacity for emotional resonance is remarkable. It is why I was drawn to Lieutenant Harper in particular. His genetic makeup suggests a potential for emotional projection rivaling that of the Nexarians themselves." Jack's eyes widened at this revelation. "So when you wanted me to join your delegation?" "It was not merely for breeding," Zaxxlian confirmed. "We hope to study your abilities, to understand how they might be used or defended against." Sarah's mind was already racing ahead, formulating a plan. The Nexarians' distress signal, they're asking for help, aren't they? They're trapped somewhere. Zaxxlian nodded sullenly. The Confederation has contained them. For the greater good, they claim. Well, Sarah said, a determined glint in her eye, I think it's time humanity made its galactic debut. We're going to rescue the Nexarians. The room erupted in a flurry of activity as Sarah began issuing orders. Dr. Pertol, I want you to focus on decoding that blueprint. If we're going to pull this off, we'll need that propulsion technology. Lieutenant Harper, work with Zaxxlian. See if you can figure out how to harness this emotional projection ability of yours. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Sarah found herself alone with Jack. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, the weight of what they were about to attempt hanging between them. You know this is probably a terrible idea, right? Jack said, a wry smile tugging at his lips. Sarah chuckled, allowing herself a moment of levity. Probably. But since when has that ever stopped us? Over the next few weeks, the Global Defense Headquarters became a hive of frenzied innovation. Dr. Patel and her team worked around the clock, translating alien concepts into workable human technology. Jack spent hours in deep meditation with Zaxxlian, learning to harness his latent emotional abilities. And through it all, Sarah coordinated, planned, and prepared for what could very well be humanity's first interstellar rescue mission. Finally, the day arrived. The prototype ship, christened the Empathy, stood ready on the launch pad. It was a sleek fusion of human and alien technology, its hull shimmering with the same iridescent quality as Zaxxlian's scales. As the crew boarded, Sarah paused at the foot of the ramp, taking in the enormity of what they were about to attempt. Jack appeared at her side, his presence a comforting constant. Having second thoughts, Commander? He asked softly. Sarah shook her head, a small smile playing on her lips. Just thinking about how far we've come. A few months ago, we were worried about proving ourselves worthy to join some cosmic club. Now we're about to break every rule in their book. Jack grinned. Well, if there's one thing humans are good at, it's breaking rules. As they ascended the ramp, Zaxxlian met them at the airlock. The alien's usual composure seemed slightly rattled. What you are attempting, it goes against everything the Confederation stands for, it said. Sarah met Zaxxlian's multifaceted gaze steadily. Sometimes standing for something means standing up to those in power. You taught us that, Zaxxlian. The alien was silent for a moment, then inclined its head in what Sarah had come to recognize as respect. Then let us hope your human unpredictability proves its asset rather than a liability. The airlock hissed shut behind them as they made their way to the bridge. The crew, a hand-picked team of Earth's finest, along with a few alien defectors who had chosen to side with humanity, looked to Sarah expectantly. She took her place at the command chair, feeling the weight of history on her shoulders. All right, people. We're about to attempt something no human has ever done before. We're going to cross the galaxy, defy an interstellar government, and hopefully make some new friends along the way. Her gaze swept the bridge, taking in the determined faces of her crew. The Confederation thought they could control us by manipulating our emotions. They didn't realize that our emotions, our capacity for empathy, for connection, are our greatest strength. Today, we prove that humanity's place in the cosmos isn't about conforming to some alien standard. It's about bringing our unique perspective to the galaxy. She nodded to the helm officer. Take us out. As the Empathy rose into the sky, its revolutionary engines humming with power, Sarah felt a surge of pride and anticipation. They were venturing into the unknown, driven by the very things the Confederation had tried to suppress: their humanity, their emotions, their unwavering desire to help those in need. Whatever challenges awaited them in the vast expanse of space, Sarah knew one thing for certain: humanity was ready to make its mark on the cosmos. Nexarian encounter and the Empathy wave. The Empathy streaked across the cosmos, its revolutionary engines bending reality in ways that made even Zaxxlian's multifaceted eyes struggle to comprehend. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the helm, her hands steady on the controls despite the maelstrom of swirling spacetime outside the viewports. Approaching the Nexarian containment zone, Lieutenant Jack Harper announced, his voice tense with anticipation. Stealth systems engaged. Sarah nodded, her mind racing through the countless scenarios they'd war-gamed. All hands, prepare for contact. Remember, we're not just here to rescue the Nexarians. We're here to change the face of galactic politics. As the empathy decelerated, the swirling vortex of hyperspace gave way to a breathtaking sight. Before them loomed a massive energy barrier, pulsing with colors that defied description. And beyond it, barely visible, was a planet shrouded in a shimmering opalescent mist. By the cosmos, Zaxian whispered, all evident in its synthesized voice. The legends didn't do it justice. "What are we looking at?" Sarah asked, unable to tear her eyes away from the spectacle. Dr. Aisha Patel's voice crackled over the comm. "If I'm reading this correctly, Commander, that mist is pure emotion. The Nexarians have weaponized their empathic abilities, creating a defensive shield that affects the mind as much as matter." Jack's brow furrowed in concentration. "I can feel it," he murmured. "It's like a song, but one you feel rather than hear." Sarah turned to him, concern etched on her face. "Are you all right?" He nodded, a slight smile playing on his lips. "Better than all right. I think I can communicate with them." Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Multiple Confederation ships dropping out of hyperspace. The tactical officer shouted, "They've detected us." Sarah's mind raced. They were out of time. "Jack," she said, locking eyes with her lieutenant, "whatever you're going to do it now." Jack closed his eyes, his face a mask of intense concentration. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a wave crashing against the shore, a surge of pure emotion swept through the ship. Gasps echoed across the bridge as each crew member was hit with a kaleidoscope of feelings: joy, sorrow, fear, hope, all intertwined in a complex tapestry that defied description. Through the haze of emotion, Sarah saw the impossible happen. The energy barrier before them began to shimmer and shift, creating an opening just large enough for the empathy to slip through. "Take us in," Sarah ordered, her voice hoarse with the effort of maintaining focus through the emotional onslaught. As they passed through the barrier, the pursuing Confederation ships pulled up short, unable or unwilling to follow. The empathy emerged into a world unlike anything they had ever seen. The planet's surface was a swirling canvas of color and light, pulsing with what Sarah now realized were the collective emotions of an entire civilization. "We're being hailed," the communications officer announced, her voice filled with wonder. Sarah straightened her uniform, taking a deep breath. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that seemed to be composed of pure light and color. Its form shifted constantly, expressing emotions in a visual language that was somehow instantly understandable. "Greetings, humans," the being's thoughts resonated directly in their minds. "I am Zinara, speaker for the Nexarian Collective. We have awaited your arrival for eons." Sarah blinked, taken aback. "You knew we were coming." Zinara's form shimmered with what Sarah interpreted as amusement. "We have long foreseen a species that would bridge the gap between emotion and logic, between the physical and the empathic. You are that bridge, humanity." Jack stepped forward, drawn by some unseen force. "The distress signal," he said. "The propulsion technology. You wanted us to find you." "Indeed," Zinara confirmed. "The Confederation fears what they do not understand. They sought to contain us, to prevent the spread of what they saw as chaos. But emotion is not chaos. It is the very fabric of existence." Sarah's tactical mind was already racing ahead. "The Confederation fleet is regrouping. They'll find a way through the barrier eventually. We need to get you out of here." Zinara's form pulsed with gratitude. "Your courage is admirable, Commander Chen, but we do not seek to flee. With your help, we hope to usher in a new era of galactic understanding. How? Sarah asked, intrigued despite the dire situation. Your Lieutenant Harper has already demonstrated the potential, Zinara explained. Human physiology, combined with our empathic technology, can create a resonance cascade, a wave of pure empathy, powerful enough to encompass the entire galaxy. The implications were staggering. Sarah exchanged glances with her crew, seeing her own mix of hope and apprehension reflected in their eyes. You're talking about changing the emotional state of every sentient being in the galaxy, she said slowly. That's a massive ethical question. Zinara's form rippled with what Sarah sensed was approval. Precisely. We do not make this decision lightly, nor do we wish to force it upon the galaxy. That is why we waited for you, humanity. Your unique blend of logic and emotion, your capacity for both reason and compassion, makes you the perfect arbiters. A tense silence fell over the bridge as the weight of the decision pressed down upon them. They had come to save the Nexarians, but now found themselves faced with a choice that could alter the very fabric of galactic society. Sarah took a deep breath, her mind whirling with possibilities. We need time, she said finally, to discuss, to understand the full implications of what you're proposing. Zinara's form shimmered with understanding. Of course, but be aware, the Confederation will not grant you that luxury. They will stop at nothing to prevent this change. As if on cue, the tactical officer's voice cut through the tension. Commander, the Confederation fleet is charging weapons. They're preparing to bombard the planet. Sarah's jaw clenched. Time had run out. They needed to make a decision, and they needed to make it now. She turned to her crew, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. We came here to save a civilization, to right a cosmic wrong. But now we're faced with a choice that goes beyond just one species. We have the power to fundamentally change the way the entire galaxy interacts. Her gaze settled on Jack, seeing the storm of emotions playing across his face. It's not a decision we can make lightly, she continued, but it's also not one we can walk away from. Whatever we choose here today will be shaping the future of not just humanity, but every sentient species in the cosmos. As the Confederation fleet loomed ever closer, as the fate of the Nexarians and perhaps the entire galaxy hung in the balance, Sarah Chen and her crew stood at the precipice of the greatest decision humanity had ever faced. The empathy hummed beneath their feet, a testament to what humans and aliens could achieve together. And in that moment, on the bridge of a ship named for the very quality that might save or doom them all, the future of the cosmos waited to be written. The cosmic empathy surge. The bridge of the empathy thrummed with tension as Commander Sarah Chen faced the most crucial decision of her life. The Confederation fleet loomed ever closer, their weapons primed to obliterate the Nexarian homeworld. Time was running out. Commander, Jack's voice cut through the chaos, his eyes blazing with newfound purpose. I think I understand now. The Nexarians, their empathic abilities, it's not about control, it's about connection. Sarah turned to him, hope flickering in her chest. What are you saying, Lieutenant? Jack stepped forward, his body seeming to shimmer with barely contained energy. We don't have to choose between logic and emotion, between individuality and unity. We can have both. Zinara's luminous form pulsed with approval. The human speaks truth. Our goal is not domination, but harmonious coexistence. Sarah's mind raced, pieces falling into place. The empathy wave, it wouldn't override free will, would it? It would just allow everyone to understand each other on a deeper level. Precisely, Zinara confirmed. A galaxy-wide moment of clarity and connection. Dr. Aisha Patel's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, I've analyzed the Nexarian data. If we combine their empathic technology with our ship's unique propulsion system, we could theoretically create a cascading wave of empathic energy. It would spread across the galaxy at speeds we can barely comprehend. Sarah took a deep breath, the weight of the cosmos on her shoulders. "Do it," she commanded, her voice steady and sure. The next few moments were a blur of activity. Dr. Patel and her team worked feverishly to integrate the Nexarian technology with the empathy systems. Jack stood at the center of it all, his body becoming a conduit for the swirling energies. Confederation fleet entering firing range. The tactical officer shouted. Sarah's voice rang out clear and strong. "All power to shields. We just need to buy a little more time." The empathy shuddered as the first volley of Confederation weapons fire impacted their defenses. But even as alarms blared and systems strained, a new sensation began to build. It started as a whisper, a faint tingle at the edge of consciousness. Then it grew, swelling into a symphony of pure emotion that resonated through every atom of their beings. "It's working," Jack explained, his voice filled with wonder. "I can feel everything, everyone." The viewscreen erupted in a dazzling display of color and light as the empathic wave burst forth from the empathy, engulfing first the Nexarian world, then the Confederation fleet, and finally spreading outward at impossible speeds. For a brief, eternal moment, every sentient being in the galaxy was connected. Species that had warred for millennia suddenly understood each other's pain and fear. Ancient hatreds dissolved in the face of shared joy and sorrow. The lonely silence of the cosmos was filled with a chorus of united consciousness. On the bridge of the empathy, Sarah gasped as she felt the full weight of this cosmic communion. She saw through the eyes of a Confederation admiral, understanding their fear of chaos and change. She felt the ancient wisdom of the Nexarians, their longing for connection, and she experienced the hopes and dreams of countless alien species, each unique, yet all part of the same grand tapestry of life. As quickly as it had come, the moment passed. The empathic wave dissipated, leaving behind a galaxy forever changed. Silence fell over the bridge, broken only by the soft beeping of consoles. Then, slowly, a new sound filled the air: laughter. It started with a chuckle from Jack, grew as Dr. Patel joined in over the comm, and soon the entire crew was caught up in a release of joy and relief. Sarah found herself laughing too, tears streaming down her face. They had done it. They had changed the course of galactic history. The viewscreen flickered to life, showing the Confederation fleet. But instead of resuming their attack, the ships were standing down, their weapons powering off. A transmission came through, and Sarah was shocked to see the face of the Confederation's Supreme Commander. The aliens' typically stern features were softer now, their eyes filled with a new understanding. "Commander Chen," the Supreme Commander said, that a voice heavy with emotion. I owe you an apology. We have spent so long fearing what we did not understand. But now," they trailed off, seemingly at a loss for words. Sarah nodded, feeling a profound sense of kinship with the being she had considered an enemy just moments ago. "I understand," she said simply. "What happens now is up to all of us." Over the next few hours, as the shock of the empathic wave wore off, a new galactic order began to take shape. The Confederation, humbled by their newfound understanding, proposed a council where all species, including humans and Nexarians, would have an equal voice. As the empathy prepared to return to Earth, Sarah stood at the viewscreen, gazing out at the stars. Jack joined her, his presence a comforting constant. "You know," Sarah said softly, "when we started this mission, I thought we were just going to rescue one alien species. I never imagined we'd end up reshaping the entire galaxy." Jack chuckled, shaking his head in amazement. "Just another day at the Office for Humanity, right?" Sarah laughed, feeling lighter than she had in months. "I suppose so. You know, the Confederation was right about one thing: human emotions are powerful. They just didn't realize that was our strength, not our weakness." As the empathy engaged its engines, preparing to journey back to a home that would now be part of a larger cosmic community, Sarah felt a profound sense of hope. The road ahead would not be easy. Integrating Earth into this new galactic society would come with its own challenges. But for the first time, the future of the cosmos looked bright, filled with the promise of understanding and unity. The stars streaked by as the empathy leaped into hyperspace, carrying with it the crew that had changed the fate of the galaxy. And in that moment, as human ingenuity and alien wisdom intertwined, the true age of cosmic exploration had finally begun.